Hello, hi, a very happy good evening. So this is Krishna Ma'am and we're talking about the story of life on earth, and that's biology. So thank you so much for joining my session today. Hi Sumila, hello. So you want me to give a recap of Friday's session because you felt I was a bit fast. Alright, so I will slow down. I'll teach you once again whatever I was discussing. Yes sir, a very happy good evening. So thank you so much for joining my session. So please do like, share and subscribe. So well, this is part 3 of human reproduction. So we have been talking about human reproduction since last Wednesday. So we started about the introduction of how many steps reproduction is and what is the structure of the male reproductive system. So in the previous lecture I finished male reproductive system. So today I'll continue male reproductive system, and then as only when you tell me you have understood, I will move into female reproductive system, because there's no means to hurry and there's no need to hurry. So we'll go as slow as possible provided you guys understand. Alright. Yes ma'am, a very happy good evening. So thank you so much for joining my session today. So please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. So part 3 of human reproduction. So these were the topics that we are yet to discuss and some of the topics which we have already discussed. So we already spoke about how many steps human reproduction has. So it has 7 steps, right? So starting from the point of gametogenesis, fertilization, your gametogenesis, insemination, fertilization, blastocyst, implantation, embryonic development, parturition, and then lactation, right? So before we have to go and study all the 7 stages, we start how the reproductive system is designed. So first we are going to talk about first we actually spoke about the male reproductive system. So since it's a system, so you have many members in the system and we spoke about each of the member in detail. So then today I thought we will actually discuss female reproductive system, but let's see. First I'll give you a recap of male. So in the consecutive lectures, so we'll be discussing all the other topics, alright. So yeah, to give you a recap of male reproductive system. So just as the term says system, so system comprises of one or more components, okay. So who are the members of your male reproductive system? So your male reproductive system includes a pair of testes. So you have accessory ducts. You have glands. And then you have male external genitalia. Right? So first we started off about a pair of testes. So these are the members under your male reproductive system. So we spoke about each one of them in detail. Okay. So now first let's talk about a pair of testes. So testes are the primary sex organs, right? So testes, so your male reproductive system is in the pelvic region, in the abdominal cavity. Okay, your testis is in the lower abdominal cavity, or it is outside the abdominal cavity. In the sense that it is suspended like this. Yes? So this is how your testis is below the abdominal cavity or in the lower abdominal cavity. So why is your testis in the lower portion? That is because for the process of spermatogenesis, that is for the process of production of sperms, so you need a temperature lower than the regular body temperature. So that is why it is suspended outside the abdominal cavity. But the testis is suspended inside a particular sac called as the scrotum. Okay, so the testis is attached to the scrotum by a particular type of fibrous connective tissue that is called as gubernaculum, or it is also known as mesorrhagium. Fine. So this testis or this scrotal sac is attached to the wall of the abdominal cavity. So this is attached to the wall of the abdominal cavity, or it is attached to the abdominal wall by what is called as spermatic cords or inguinal canal. So further, we went on to talk about what happens if the testis does not descend down. So at the time of fetal development, the testis is in the abdominal cavity, but right when the child is about to be born, it descends down, right? So when the testis does not descend down, the undescended testis is a condition called as cryptorchidism. So surgically, they can bring down the testis, alright. So now talking about the structure of the testis as such. So there is a pair of testes and each testis is divided into compartments, is divided into 200 to 250 compartments. That is called as testicular lobules. Okay, and inside each of these lobules you have 1 to 3 highly coiled structure. So this 1 to 3 highly coiled structure is called as your seminiferous tubules. So this seminiferous tubules have two types of cells in turn. So one type of cell is called as the male germ cell. The other one is your Sertoli cells. So male germ cells actually undergo spermatogenesis to produce sperm. So Sertoli cells nourish the germ cells. Right? So we spoke about 3 layers inside your testis: tunica albiguina, tunicula vascularis and tunicula vaginalis, right? So I hope you remember the 3 layers. And in between the seminiferous tubules, if suppose this is your seminiferous tubules, the space in between the seminiferous tubules is lined by interstitial space, and interstitial space has Leydig cells and other immunologically competent cells. So this Leydig cells along with the luteinizing hormone actually simulates the production of androgen. Alright. So moving forward, so with this we are done with the testis. So now we are going to talk about the accessory ducts. So ducts are nothing but passages, right? So from the testis, the sperm has to come out. So it has to come out through the urethra, right? So you have your testis here suspended inside the scrotum. So you have the urinary bladder and then you have the urethra like this. Right? So from here it has to come to the urethra. So what is the passage? So from the seminiferous tubules it moves into what is called as the rete testis. Then you have vasa efferentia. Then you have epididymis. And then vas deferens. So this is the passage it follows, alright. So vas deferens is what loops over the urinary bladder. So vas deferens, it loops over the urinary bladder. Okay. And after that, there is a small gland that is called as the seminal vesicle. So glands also have ducts. So this seminal vesicle has a duct called as ejaculatory duct. So from the vas deferens, which loops over the urinary bladder, it comes out through the ejaculatory duct and finally through the urethra, through the urethral orifice. That is the opening of the urethra. So this is the passage that it follows. So we are done with the ducts. Now talking about the glands of the male reproductive system. So we have 3 glands. The first gland is your seminal vesicle. So it is a pair of gland okay, on either side of your urinary bladder. So it's a pair of gland. So the secretions of the seminal vesicle is called as seminal plasma. So this seminal plasma contains fructose, it contains fibrinogen, okay. So next you have your prostate gland. Yes, hello, thank you so much for joining my lecture. So please do like, share and subscribe. So next you have the prostate gland. So prostate gland is only one, it is not a pair, it is only one gland, alright. So this prostate gland, so the secretions of the prostate gland along with the seminal plasma forms what is called as semen. So semen is the secretion of these two, which along with it carries sperms. So you should understand semen is very thick and it does not enable quicker movements to conserve the energy of your sperms. Alright, yes, the third one is your bulbourethral gland. So this bulbourethral gland is a paired gland. It is also known as your Cowper's gland. So actually there is only one opening, that is urethra, through which the urine as well as the sperms have to come out. So urine has an acidic pH and sperms will have an alkaline pH. The pH is around 6.8 towards being neutral, which is not acidic, right? So your Cowper's gland actually clears the acidic passage of the urethra. So this is about all the glands of your male reproductive system. So now talking about the external male genitalia. The external male genitalia is your penis. So this helps in the erection. So this is made up of a loose tissue, so which helps in erection. So this erection helps in the process of insemination, that is ejaculation of sperms into the female genital tract, right? So the base or the end portion of your penis is called as glans penis, and this glans penis is made up of a particular type of tissue that is called as foreskin. So Sumila, did you understand the male reproductive system? So I have given you a quick recap. So now let's move on into the female reproductive system. So I believe the female reproductive system is comparatively easier. So let's begin with the female reproductive system. So I'm not hurrying up. So let's see how much it can be done. So just like the male reproductive system had 2 or 3 components, so like much in the same way, your female reproductive system has 2 or 3 components. Okay. So first one is that it consists of a pair of ovaries, okay, oviducts, uterus, cervix, vagina, external male genitalia. And what is this? It's much longer than the male. Wait, hold on for a second. So your female reproductive system, just like the male has a pair of testes, the female has a pair of ovary. Just like the male has accessory ducts, they also have accessory ducts. Just like a male, glands, they also have glands. So here they have a female external genitalia. One thing extra in your female is the presence of mammary glands. So that is also characteristic of a functional female, right? So your female reproductive system, includes a pair of ovaries, so they include ducts, again they have glands. So inside this glands you can also include mammary glands, you can also have the Bartholin's gland. So there are only 2 glands in females, right? And the last one will be the female external genitalia. Fine. So these are the members of your female reproductive tract. So mammary glands are integrated structurally and functionally, which is needed for the process of ovulation. So talking about ovaries first, so they are the primary female sex organs. Alright. So they produce the female gamete. So the male gamete was sperm, the female gamete is the ovum. So they produce several steroidal hormones which is called as the ovarian hormones. The pair of ovaries located on each side of the lower abdomen. So just like the testes are located outside the abdominal cavity, so they are also located towards the lower abdomen. So it is 2 to 4 centimeter in length. It is connected to the pelvic wall and to the uterus via ligaments. So if you look into this figure, this is your ovary, this is your ovary, this is your uterus. So this is connected to the pelvic wall as well as to the uterus via what is called as ligaments. So in case of male, the testis was connected to the abdominal wall through your inguinal canal, right? So here it is through ligaments. Fine? Okay. So now moving further, so what does the structure of ovary look like? So this, okay. So the ovary, so you have a pair of ovaries like this. So the singular one is ovary. So the ovary has stroma, right, and it has follicles. The space inside the ovary is mostly stroma. This is divided into the cortex portion as well as the medullary portion. Okay, fine. So now moving forward, so it is surrounded by thin epithelium that encloses the ovarian stroma. So stroma is the space inside the ovary. Okay, so stroma has a peripheral cortex and an inner medulla. So with that, your ovary is done. So now we are going to talk about your ducts. So we are going to talk about the ducts of the female reproductive system. So what is the passage it follows? So it follows, the first one is your oviduct, which is also called as your fallopian tube. So from that it moves into the uterus, uterus into the cervix, into the vagina, right? So this is the passage. So this is what is explained here. Fallopian tube, uterus, vagina, which are the female accessory ducts, alright? Okay, so first talking about the fallopian tube itself. So if the ovary is here, so there is a structure like this, right? So this tube is the fallopian tube. So this tube has 3 parts, okay? Yes? Hi GK, yes, welcome to my lecture. So thank you so much for joining my lecture. So please do like, share and subscribe. So this is the fallopian tube. The fallopian tube itself has 3 parts. The portion of the fallopian tube that is closer to the ovary, this portion is called as infundibulum. So the infundibulum has finger-like structure which is called as fimbriae. So it is finger-like so that it can collect 1 egg every month from the ovary, alright. And this portion of your fallopian tube is your ampulla lesion. So ampulla is where your fertilization happens. Then the one towards the uterus is the isthmus region, and this is the uterus. So talking about the passage or the ducts in your female reproductive system, the first one is the oviduct or the fallopian tube. That itself is divided into 3 parts. The portion of the fallopian tube that is closest to the ovary is the infundibulum. So the infundibulum has finger-like projections, that is fimbriae, and then the broader portion is ampulla. So ampulla is where fertilization happens. That is fusion of male and female gametes happen. Then you have a narrow portion that is towards the uterus. So that is isthmus, which opens it into the uterus. So this is the first part of the duct. The next part is the uterus. Okay. So fallopian tube is clear. So now we will move into uterus. So the uterus has 3 layers. The outermost is the perimetrium. It is made of thin connective tissue. Then you have the middle myometrium. So this myometrium has smooth muscles which contracts at the time of delivery, child delivery. So you have your oxytocin that is secreted by your pituitary, so that stimulates the contraction of the myometrium, and you have the innermost region, so that is your endometrium. So endometrium degenerates and regenerates during the menstrual cycle. So we'll talk about the menstrual cycle in detail, but this is the structure of the uterus, okay? So part near is infundibulum, fimbriae, so then you have the isthmus, so all this I have explained. So uterus is also called as the womb. So the shape is like an inverted pear shape. It is supported by ligaments and attached to the pelvic wall. So the end of uterus is a narrow portion, that is cervix, and the cervix opens into vagina. So the cavity of the cervix is your cervical canal. The passage of the cervix is your cervical canal. So your cervical canal plus your vagina is your birth canal, because that is the passage through which the child comes out. So it is the birth canal. So you have three layers of your uterus. External is perimetrium, middle is myometrium, and the innermost is the endometrium cavity of the uterus. So endometrium undergoes cyclical changes during the menstrual cycle, whereas myometrium exhibits strong contraction during the delivery of the baby. So you can see the three structures highlighted here. So now what is remaining is the glands and the female external genitalia of the female reproductive system, which I'll continue on Wednesday. So Sumila, did you understand the male reproductive system? And we are much closer into the closure of your female reproductive system. We'll finish it off in the next class, and in the next class I will also start with your spermatogenesis, so please be present. So there's a logic that you have to understand in spermatogenesis, which I'll teach you a bit slowly. So join me on my Wednesday's class at 4:30. So until then, this is me signing off, and have a great time ahead. Thank you and take care. Bye.